Okay, before I got married, and I was in high school, and we had, like I said, we had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful class. And I was in the 10th grade, which was the junior class. My husband was a senior, which was the 11th grade. And we went to the junior senior prom. We had a wonderful school. I was not a good student, but I did love to dance. And I danced all the way through high school and all the way through college and had a marvelous time. I was the DAR, let me see, what did they call that? The Citizen of the Year for the state of Georgia when I was a senior in high school. And the way I got to be that was they drew my name out of a hat. And I had to go to the Biltmore in Atlanta, and all those old ladies all had on black lace with pearls dripping down, and I had to give a speech. I have no idea what I said. I'm sure I didn't understand it. But those ladies, those old ladies, they must have been at least 50 years old. That's one of my memories. It was the beginning and the end of a lot, because he graduated from high school, went to the Citadel. I was in school and graduated the next year because the war was going on, 1943 and 2, and he was at the Citadel and until he was going to be 18, and then he volunteered. If you volunteered, you could get into the part you wanted to go to. And I graduated from high school. I went to Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, a girls' school, and we were chaperoned. The girls from Georgia and South Carolina, and I believe even North Carolina, came to Atlanta. We met in Atlanta, and we got on the train, and we had special cars that we went in, because when we got to Evansville, Indiana, they took our cars, the ones that were going to St. Louis, off on a sidetrack for another train to come pick us up. And I had read all the Nancy Drew books, so I thought we should do something adventurous. So we're in the train yard in Evansville, Indiana, and I said, we need to slip off this train and go someplace. So we did, 2 or 3 or 4 of us. And we went up to the train station and looked in, and there were men in there, and I got cold feet, and so we all hurried back across tracks. Scares me to think about it. But anyway, we got back on the train car, and nobody ever knew, and we didn't tell. Stevens was a junior college. When I left Stevens, I went to the University of Georgia. Loved it. Never thought I'd go to the University of Georgia, and loved every minute of it. I pledged a sorority, moved into the sorority, loved doing that. And it was during that time, 1945, when the war ended. And I was there when the boys, there hadn't been any boys in any of the colleges. They were gone. And they came back. The war was over in 1945. The boys came back. When they came back to the University of Georgia, it was the funniest thing. They had on suits and ties. They did not know that times had changed drastically to khaki pants and knit shirts. They didn't wear the suits and ties but one day, and then that was over, and they went right into khaki pants, not jeans. We didn't wear jeans back then, but they did wear khaki pants and knit shirts, and they loved it. Well, let me tell you about what we also wore. The boys wore Weegians. They were loafers. And we wore Weegians too, but we wore skirts, gored skirts, right below the knee or right at the knee, not above it, but right at it. And we wore sweaters to match, but we wore the sweaters backwards. They were cardigans, and we buttoned them in the back, and we wore a string of pearls. The only thing that was different was the color. I went to graduation for at the University of Georgia. It was outside in an amphitheater, and it was going to be beautiful except for one thing. It poured down rain. So they hollered, "Everybody go to the gym." So we all went to the gym, and when they called my name, I jumped up and down so they could see where it was, and they sailed it over to me, over the people's heads, and I jumped up and caught my diploma. Beautiful. Oh, I had a double major, psychology and sociology, and I called that double nothing. So I thought, good grief, I'm either going to have to get married or go to work. So I didn't want to go to work, so I decided to get married. So Louis and I got married, and I went to work. I taught school, taught math. Math is easier to teach than English because you don't have to read so much. It's either right or wrong. So I like math.